expect this to be the first of a few mentions of this week. On Saturday at EGX, the Eurogamer Expo at the NEC, the biggest gaming event in the UK, I'm going to be part of a Football Manager content creator panel. There's going to be me, Second Yellow Card, FM Dupe, Nerdphonic, and the four of us are just going to be chatting about Football Manager. So if you are going to be at EGX on Saturday, the panel is at 3 PM in the Fringe Theatre, or if you've not yet got your tickets for EGX, if you've been on the fence about it, what better reason for you to come down, hang out with us, hear what we've got to say about our thoughts for FM18, and also being content creators in a niche little video game corner of the internet. And yeah, it's going to be an awesome afternoon. I will also endeavour to record it and get it on the channel at some point next week as well, but obviously there's nothing quite like being there live. Now we've got to go and try and win the league. Hello and welcome to part 173 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we pretty much have the title decided. We're away against Manchester City in the Premier League, followed by a home game against Stoke. Since you were last with me, we've recaptured some decent form after the disappointment of being knocked out of the Champions League and then being thumped by Tottenham. We had quite a run of nice, easy games, and we scored some goals against Brighton. Alonso getting 4 goals in that game and also grabbing a winner against Southampton. And Alonso, despite us now living in a world where we have Charlie Jones and Piazza, Alonso has just reminded me that he is a striker that exists and is... I've got one of those problems that managers like to have for today's game. This is what the Premier League looks like going into the Manchester City game, if it ever loads up. Premier League. Load up. My word, 21 seasons into the future of this save, it is properly struggling at this point. But this is how we find ourselves. We're 7 points clear of City and Arsenal. Obviously, we're playing Man City now. They do have a game in hand on us. So, if they were to win their game in hand and beat us in this match, that 7-point gap goes down to a 1-point gap with 5 games to go. A 1-point gap with 5 games to go worries me. And obviously, if we can beat them today, then it's at least a 7... Maths! We don't need to do maths. We just need to win the football match. That's what it's all about. And this is the team we're going to put out there to do exactly that. We have Harry's in goal because he's my goalkeeper now. People have mentioned I may have made a mistake. I don't think I have. He's our man. I need to play him to prove that I was right to sign him. A back four of Joksimovic, Ripert, Day and Coupler with Wanda, Caminero and Piazza in midfield. Piazza, I don't know how I get him in ahead of Alonso and Jones, the form they're in, but I also don't know how I drop him. He's comfortable playing in central midfield as well, so he can drop back and play in central midfield. That might be what he turns into for us. Who knows? And then we've got Fernandes in behind the aforementioned Alonso and Jones. We're still going with the 2 complete forwards. It's working well. We're scoring goals. We're playing well. We played Piazza in midfield quite a lot recently, and I still can't see a way to get Nuhu into this team as a starter. He is obviously going to come on the bench at some point, though, especially if we find ourselves needing a goal, because Nuhu, at a free kick, he's a set-piece specialist, a long-range screamer specialist, and obviously we'll bring him on if we feel like we need a long-range screamer, or a set-piece. I don't know what that question was. I didn't even read it. Let's just win the match. Man City are in very, very good form. Obviously, like 10 games into the season, they were down in mid-table. And I remember saying at the time... That was great. I remember saying at the time that it was a 2-horse race between us and Arsenal. Man City, despite being all dominant, all conquering last season and winning absolutely everything... they kind of really went off the boil. I didn't really understand what had happened. Turns out they just had a fairly slow start to the season after the great season they had before. And since about November time, they have been exceptional. And we just need to hope that they're not so good. I mean, they've scored after 5 minutes. We just have to hope that they're not so good that they can catch us up. We've been top of the table since like Christmas time. And of course, in the true spirit of Backdoor Kev, it is possible for us to win the league and get absolutely thumped by them today. We don't really have a really difficult Premier League game after this one. There's every possibility that we could win all of our games after this one. We've only got 4 more. They're all winnable. Obviously, we don't want to win the league by default, though, just because Man City had a slow start to the season. We want to beat them and basically win the league today at their place. That being said, we're 2-0 down after 8 minutes. I don't mind winning the league by default. I just want to win the league. I can't have the disappointment of not winning anything this season. We do still have an FA Cup semi-final to come as well. In actual fact, I might well play the FA Cup semi-final as the second match on this episode rather than doing a league game. We don't want to string out the episodes too much. Let's do that. So after this, regardless of what happens, I'll play the Stoke game offline. Then we'll do the Chelsea game in the FA Cup semi-final as the second one in this episode. And then fingers crossed, tomorrow's episode can be us playing our final league game and then winning the FA Cup. Let's not drag this out, smush it together in the interest of trying to win the Champions League before FM19 comes out. We have not looked involved in this game at all. Maybe playing an 18-year-old striker in midfield against the best team in the world wasn't the best idea. Oh, God. It's a bit late now, isn't it? He says 18 minutes in. There's plenty of time to change it and get back into this game. I'm not going to change it. I want my best players on the pitch, and Piazza is definitely one of our best players. It just so happens that probably 3 or 4 of our best 11 players are strikers at this point, and another 2 of them are attacking midfielders. We're a little bit unbalanced. It's weird. We've gone from where we were 3 seasons ago, where all we had was a central midfield, and our defence was rubbish, our strikers were rubbish. We've rested on our laurels in central midfield a little bit and haven't massively improved our central midfield while we've massively improved the rest of the team. And I think central midfield is probably now our weak point. And my goal for the summer is to go out and buy a world-class central midfield player, maybe even 2, to slot into that midfield 3, so we can finally get away from playing the likes of Piazza, Esteban, Nuhu, all these other players who we've played in midfield. Stoyanov has played a lot of games in central midfield for us this season, and Harry's, I mean, oh my word. I've got to give you... I just wanted you all to stop saying Nuhu in the comments. So I thought, how can I stop people going on about Nuhu every episode? Remember the good old days when it was just Nada out every episode. Well, let's get back to that. Let's bring in a goalkeeper as bad as Robbie Nada, because then you'll stop going on about Nuhu. Oh my word. On paper, he is a good goalkeeper. I don't understand. And when you're not here, he's fine. I've played him in almost every game since he signed. It's not as if I just bring him in when you lot are here. He's been keeping clean sheets. He's been playing well. But he's not playing well today. And Piazza just proving he's not a midfielder. And Harry's flapping around like a lunatic again. I mean, what is it? He's the most camera-shy goalkeeper in the universe. Are we really going to go and lose 8-0 to Man City and still pip them to the league title? It doesn't really bode well for us being the best team in the country, does it? It just shows that they had a weak start. Oh, God. Oh, my word. Can we just fast forward to the end? Do we need to show the rest of this match? I think you all get the idea of where it's going. I've just mentioned we don't want to drag this series out now. We want to get it finished. Do we have to show full games at this point? Can we not? This feels like it's dragging it out. Oh, if I've got to watch it, you've got to watch it. I think that's only fair. And we probably need to make some changes at half time. Although really, it's far too late to make any change that makes any kind of difference, because we've lost this game already, and fingers crossed it won't end up mattering. And that's what we have to keep telling ourselves. We can lose this game and still win the league. We just can't lose any more, because Man City aren't going to lose again this season. And if we end up not winning the league from the position we were in, you have to start asking yourselves if we're ever going to win anything. We're clearly not the best team in the country. We've been beaten home and away by Arsenal and in the Carabao Cup. Arsenal are a much better side than we are. Man City are showing today they're a much better side than we are. Fernandes is injured. Let's get Nuhu on. But despite there being 2 teams who are much better than us, they've messed up. And up until this point, we haven't. We've been capitalising on them messing up. But we're clinging on by our fingertips. Nuhu with the corner, and it would be nice to show a little bit of a sign of life in the second half. Alonso's been rubbish. That's probably a good way to get Centurion on. push Piazza further forward. Centurion can go there, swap those two round. And we have a more sensible looking midfield now. But we don't really have... Do we have much else in the way of a game changer to bring on? Oh, that's a beautiful through ball. We've been cut wide open there. And yikes. Who else have we got? Stoyanov. I don't know that Stoyanov... I think Stoyanov is probably going to be leaving in the summer. He's been okay, but in a world where we've got Jones, Piazza, Kieran Kerr, Alonso... Do we really need Stoyanov knocking around as a fifth striker? I don't think we do. If we can get 15 million for him, that would be delightful. Wanda to Caminero. See, we're actually playing some half-decent football now. Almost as if playing all my players in their actual positions and having Nuhu on the pitch has improved the side. I don't believe... Oh, that's a beautiful save from Harry's. Even Harry's is playing better now. Because in his defence, they've had 4 clear-cut chances, 5 half chances, yet he's only conceded 4 goals. He's not the worst goalkeeper in the world. He's just had a bit of a rough afternoon again, like he did in the Champions League as well. Oh my word. 5 clear-cut chances now, and we're still not looking like scoring. Piazza's not having a very good game. I guess we give Stoyanov 15 minutes. The old Nogueira rule, we give Stoyanov 15 minutes to show me why he deserves to stick around next season. If he can go and grab 4 goals against City for us now, then I might believe that he's a Premier League quality... In fact, forget Premier League. He's obviously a Premier League quality striker. I might believe he's a Champions League winning striker if he can turn this game around in the next 8 minutes. Even if he grabbed a couple, I'd be more inclined to keep him, but he's very much 5th choice striker for us now. And when we've got Jokic as a 6th choice striker who's still got bags of potential, we really don't need to keep Stoyanov around. Although he's looked quite good there. Cross comes in, and I don't know if that was Nuhu or Jones forcing the save out of the City keeper. I mean, we have created some chances in this second half. It's been a little bit disappointing that we haven't found a way to convert any of them, because if we'd have like maybe grabbed one, we'd have looked a little bit more likely to 3 clear-cut chances now. I'm starting to feel a little bit hard done by the scoreline. We've looked a lot better in the second half. Although, remember, Man City have obviously taken their foot off the pedal massively, and they did destroy us in the first half. And it could have been 5 or 6 in the first half easily. But there have been a few positive signs in this second half. I think this is a little bit closer to a shape that we're supposed to be using. Let's not play Piazza out of position anymore. Right, we're going to go and play Stoke, and fingers crossed we beat them, and then we'll be back with the FA Cup semi-final, which we really might have to win just to get a trophy based on how that went. It seems that the game agrees with you, because we now only have one fit attacking midfielder, and it's Nuhu. So with injuries to Maestra, who's almost recovered from his, I mean, he might be fit again, but injuries to Maestra, Esteban, who else have we got? Fernandez. Nuhu's the man for a little while now. And I wish my players would stop breaking their legs. Well, who'd have thought? Nuhu's quite good, isn't he? Man of the match, 2 goals, beat Stoke. That's all good. City still haven't played since we played them, although they have got themselves knocked out of the FA Cup. They played in the other semi-final against Burnley and lost. So I'm now crossing my fingers that ruins their confidence, and they didn't just play, they probably just played the reserves because they're still in the Champions League as well. But this is the team that we're putting out there to try and book our place in the FA Cup final. A few changes from the last team you will have seen. Obviously, we've picked up a few injuries. I have brought Vujicic back in goal. Our midfield, Caminero is unavailable because for the second time this season, he was found stumbling out of a nightclub in the early hours of the morning and is absent. He's been fined a week's wages. He is a bad boy, which means Hayes has to come into midfield alongside Centurion and Wanda. Obviously, Nuhu is going to be starting as the attacking midfielder, and I've gone for Alonso and Jones up front. Alonso got 2 goals in the last game against Stoke, so he has to play. Jones is our captain and was just superb last season. I don't see how I drop him either. So Piazza can experience Wembley for the first time from the bench if it looks like we are needing a goal. We've got Piazza, Jokic, Maestra and Stoyanov all on the bench as attacking options if they're needed. So we definitely have some game-changing options if we feel the need to bring them on. Chelsea, remember, Chelsea aren't the team that Chelsea are at the start of the save. Chelsea have been struggling for a little while now. This should be a game we're capable of winning, but obviously we are a little bit wobbly in big games at the moment. I don't know if it was the brightest thing I ever did, taking the club captaincy off Wanda and giving it to Jones. It was mainly because Wanda wanted to leave and Jones needed an extra convincer to get him to stay and not go to Manchester United last summer. So it seemed I was probably taking the captaincy off Wanda anyway, because I don't want a captain who doesn't want to be at the club. And it was just a convenient time to use it to persuade Jones to stay. But he's not been the same player this year, goals-wise. And I don't know if he's the same leader that we had with Wanda. And maybe Ripert would have been a better option to put the captaincy on. I don't know. But maybe even Day at this point. Because he's going to be a starter for the next few years. Jones is just proving that I'm a moron, though. And with 12 minutes on the clock, pretty much goal from nowhere as well. It's a big ball forward from Day, and Jones picks it up in a pretty non-threatening position. I mean, he is on the shoulder of the last man there, but very wide, and still has an awful lot to do. And looks like he's made a poor decision when he kind of goes wide rather than making a beeline for the goal. Kind of hits the touchline almost, or not the touchline, the goal line, and tucks it in from there. So can't complain about that. Fran, by the way, is the other superstar goalkeeper who, when we were trying to sign Vujicic ages ago, Fran was the one who was at Aston Villa. No, he wasn't. Fran was at Brighton. There's a few very good goalkeepers knocking around now. Obviously, we've got 3 of them in our squad. Jones is in again, and the Jones of last year scores there. Jones of this year just scores from more awkward angles than that. We certainly have a very last season feel about the team. Nuhu in there, a midfield that doesn't have any strikers in it, which is a bit of a novelty for this season, but was fairly standard a few years ago. Ashley Hayes back in the side, and obviously relying on Jones as our main source of goals, although Alonso has been in very good goal scoring form for a little while now, and I think Alonso's currently our top scorer, and Vujicic back in goal, using his safe hands to keep control of that. And it's nice to have Vujicic back in there. He's I mean, star rating wise, him and Harry's are the same quality. I think probably based on big game experience, we've got to rate Vujicic a little bit higher at this point, haven't we? You lot already knew that, but Jones has just missed another big chance, and it is a little bit of a worry. We've dominated this first half. Chelsea have only had the one shot, and we should be further ahead than we are, but Jones has missed. I mean, Jones has had 3 chances and scored by far the hardest of the 3. The other 2 you would have expected him to tuck away, but he plays it back to Coupler there. Hayes in midfield to Wanda. Ball over the top to Jones again, and Alonso's in the middle, and it doesn't go anywhere near Alonso in the end. It's drilled across from Jones, and on the stroke of half-time, it's an own goal, and a really, really soft own goal to concede for Chelsea as well. I guess Jones was probably aiming for Alonso, or it looks more like a shot that was... It was nothing, really. He just hit the ball hard across the area and got a little bit of a luck and a bit of a deflection, and we go in at half-time 2-0 up, feeling good. Jones has played well. We've not really seen much of Nuhu yet, but remember, Nuhu's a big game player. Nuhu's going to turn up in the second half and stick a free kick in the top corner, because that's what he does. He was absolutely superb against Stoke. It was like the good old days, you know, when I used to play him all the time. Yeah, I know a lot of it's self-inflicted. We have got an injury today that we need to keep an eye on because of the propensity for our players to break their legs at the moment. Although I guess he doesn't play on for 20 minutes with a broken leg. Centurion, across to Wanda. Wanda to Alonso. Tackle from behind, anyone? Jones again. And who was that on the turn? Was that Alonso? Or was it... I don't know who had the ball at that point. The game was moving too fast. I mean, seriously, that's another foul. They're going to get a player sent off this time. They're just clattering into at the legs of our players. And our legs are very weak. I don't want players clattering into them. Nuhu on the edge of the area to Centurion. Hayes loses out because... I mean, Hayes is done. Hayes is getting replaced in the summer. Joksimovic, cross comes in. Joksimovic still not signed his contract for next year. Hayes has just scored a screamer. Hayes is not done. I mean, we're like in reverse Jim McAllister land there. That's amazing. What a goal from Ashley Hayes. And he doesn't want to be replaced in the summer, clearly. Okay, Ashley, you can hang around as a squad player for another season. What I was trying to say, though, is that Joksimovic still hasn't signed a new contract. Only has a year left now. And we might actually move him on in the summer. I don't want to be letting him leave for free. If he doesn't agree to a new contract by middle of June, we're going to start offering him out to clubs. We do have the young Welsh left-back David Roberts, who's Already got several full caps for Wales. I mean, Harry's has got loads as well, so that's obviously a good sign. But we've got him who can come in. We've got Sretenovic as well, who we've been grooming for a little while. So we have a couple of options. If we don't really have a midfielder, do we? I don't want to bring Maester on in central midfield. I might just leave it at the one change. We'll bring Piazza on for Alonso. I don't want to risk Maestra's first game back being in central midfield. And I don't really want to drop Nuhu back there. Nuhu plays it out to Coupler. Coupler across to Centurion to Piazza, who scores a screamer. And that's why he needs to be playing, I guess. Our Brazilian wonder kid just turns up and says, yep, I'm pretty good, and I don't leave me on the bench again. Welcome to Wembley. He's played 1 minute at Wembley in his career, and this is how he celebrated his first minute at Wembley, because he's going to be the best player in the world. What a goal. We need him to have super fast development, because if he fulfills any of his potential while this save is still going, the Champions League will be a walk in the park. Right, we're going to take off Nuhu now and bring on Maestra, because, in fact, we're going to bring on Stoyanov for Centurion as well. We're 4-0 up with 10 minutes to go. We can afford to play around a little bit. Stoyanov's played as our deep line playmaker a few games. Yes, we need a midfielder, but it'll be good to see Maestra, who's back from a long injury layoff for a fractured skull, and getting him back in the team at Wembley. And he's going to be important for this run-in, because Nuhu's form's still very hit and miss, and we don't have any other options at attacking midfield now. So Maestra might still have a key role to play in the run-in. But we have booked our spot in the FA Cup final against Burnley. That feels like a very winnable FA Cup to try and grab our second FA Cup in our history. And then we just need to win our remaining Premier League games, and we can win the league as well. So I think what we're probably going to do, in the interests of not faffing about and taking loads of time, we're going to do all of that tomorrow. We're going to play Liverpool on the last day of the season and Burnley in the FA Cup final all tomorrow, with the potential to win the double. That'll be exciting. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for us. Subscribe to the channel for Football Manager videos. That's what I do here, isn't it? I was doing my vlog outro there. Come on, Kev, get with it, man. Thank you very much for watching.